Well, you wrote about this in The Strange Death of Europe. You gave the world the warning, and sadly, a lot of world leaders were not listening. Now, you wrote a fantastic piece for The Telegraph about why culture matters. We have too many conservatives, particularly conservative politicians in this country, who think that the key battles are all about the economy, but it's really cultural issues that are often the most consequential. And a man who understood that was former TV executive turned founder of the New Culture Forum, the late Peter Whittle, who passed away last week, Douglas, and it's an enormous loss. He really understood this battle.
Yes, he did, absolutely. I'd known Peter for a couple of decades and more, and watched as he started the New Culture Forum 20 years ago. He was a terrific force in British national life. He entered politics, and most importantly, he founded the New Culture Forum. And it was his insight a long time ago that other people have also been credited with. But I mean, he really practiced it. That it is the case that politics is downstream from culture. And, you know, a lot of what we've seen in recent years in all of our countries, whether it's a turmoil to do with mass immigration, whether it's all of the self-doubt that's been pushed on our nations, all the guilt that's been pushed on our nations, all of this stuff has been a kind of cultural war on our countries. And it has relatively little, at times, certainly, to do with economics. You can always get the left to talk about culture, and sometimes you can get the right to talk about economics. But Peter recognized that the right needs to talk about culture. And that includes not just what you're against, but what you're for. Not just what you don't want to see, but what you do want to see. Peter was intensely proud of British and especially English culture. He wasn't one of those people, he didn't think that we should all look down on what we'd inherited. He was proud of it. He was particularly proud of what the working classes in the UK had given through their hard work, labor, and much, much more that had created the culture which we inherited in Britain. And he didn't want to give it up. He didn't want to see it handed away. And so, yes, he for 2 decades, he founded an organization that has spread now across the United Kingdom, in which people come together, not just to say what they don't like about the things that are coming up in the arts and architecture and so on, but to celebrate, revere, and carry on the things in our culture which are good. I wish that many more people did that, but I hope with the inspiration that Peter, among others, has given us, I hope that more people will pick up the baton going forward.
And on that, on the importance of culture and the left's march through the institutions, I want to ask you about the subtle and not so subtle ways that leftist ideology has captured institutions, particularly at the moment, the trans ideology. Another example, the NHS insisting on using terms like people with a cervix as opposed to just women, which would make it a lot simpler in these health messages. And we're seeing people in the corporate world still submit to this ideology by putting pronouns, for example, in their bios or their email addresses. What's your response to someone who does that just to go with the crowd or to appear tolerant?
Well, my impression is that the days where you have to say Rita brackets she, her, Douglas brackets he, him. I think, although neither of us ever fell into that era, Rita, and I'm very proud that we didn't, nevertheless, I think the era where people thought they had to do that is definitely receding. I don't know about you, but I certainly see it a lot less. You give the example of people with cervixes. What we really have seen, among other things, on this is not just a mass derangement, it's a product of mass miseducation. Nobody who knows the most basic biology could think that just any old person can have a cervix. Unfortunately, of course, Rita, as I think you and I have mentioned before, one of the people who does think that a man can grow a cervix, given the right medication, is our now Deputy Prime Minister in the UK, David Lammy. An absolute genius. And when he was asked on a show some time ago, but can somebody born a man, can they actually become a woman? And he said, well, I think they can. And yeah, I mean, if you have the
No.
right. And they said, can they get a cervix? He said, yes, I think they can grow a cervix. These, Rita, are our leaders.
Wow.
You can't expect kids in schools to know basic biology if we're led by people who think that we're kind of pieces of Lego on which you can just stick bits and then take them off. And it's so deranging, so ridiculous. But as I say, I think that era might be receding.
Well, let's hope so. Sadly, it's still very prevalent in this country. We've kind of still haven't had the awakening to this, the excesses of the trans movement. We're still handing out puberty
maybe
blockers.
Somebody could, maybe Rita, you or somebody else could ask your prime minister whether he believes he can grow a cervix. I mean, whether or not he wants to, I suppose, is another question. Maybe he could feel the temptation to, but just ask him if he thinks that's possible, if it could be on his agenda someday. And if he says that he could grow one, then we know we're dealing with an absolute idiot.
Well, we have a sex discrimination commissioner, Douglas, in this country who said that she doesn't understand terms like biological male. I think that's actually a direct quote. I don't understand terms like So her entire role as a sex discrimination commissioner, you would think, would be to protect the sex-based rights of women, yes. But she can't work out what exactly a woman is, because it's all
who by the way,
very subjective.
Who on earth, who's a serious person, would take up the title of sex discriminator? That's a government appointment. I'm the official government-appointed sex discriminator. Watch out, I might come knocking.
Sex discrimination commissioner who doesn't know what a woman is. That's Australia in 2025. Douglas Murray, thank you so much for your time tonight.
A great pleasure. Thank you.